She thinks she's a flipping greyhound. This is not a track for dogs. Oh, good gracious. Hey folks, welcome back to the farm. Today's video is all about, well, grass tracks. Let me show you how I got to this point. It's been quite a journey. Time to get some grass seed down. The track is all prepped up now, and I've just been. It turns out that we live fairly close by to a grass supplier, seed supplier, all sorts, everything from wildflower to forage crops and cover crops and all sorts. So they have suggested this one. I'll talk about it more in a minute, but for now we need to get this into the truck and head down. So last night Rob came down and power harrowed the track, so that basically has given us a better sowing surface, and it's flattened it out because the digger, as good as you can be with the digger, it always leaves ridges. So what we've done now is got it to a point where it's ready to go. The only thing we haven't got is a roller, but we'll try something in a minute. Now, I'm no expert when it comes to grass seed. I'm no expert when it comes to many things, but from my bit of research I've been doing, we don't really want to be using a meadow grass or a paddock grass or anything like that, because that will grow too fast and also not be this sort of hard-wearing grass that's going to knit together all the soil. This soil has been freshly disturbed and we want it to be nice and strong so it can be driven over repetitively, I guess, and basically hold the track, because I'd rather not have to use some sort of reinforcing mesh if we can avoid it. So this one is heavier on fescue. It's actually more of a landscaping grass than an agricultural grass, but it should be what we need. So I left it pretty smooth, like tracked smooth, and now the harrow's been over it. As you can see, it's left a ridged sort of finish to it, because the back of the Paro harrow has a bar sort of roller, so it's a load of different bars that finish and give it that sort of ridged surface. We're going to sow straight into that. Now, if we've got 30 kilo to do just over 300 meters, we need to split this into thirds. I should probably do that on a map, but I'm going to guess, and I think here is about a third. So that's what we're going to do. She thinks she's a flipping greyhound. This is not a track for dogs. Oh, good gracious. Right, well, this has backfired a bit, isn't it? What's that? Fence post. Alright, let me show you the setup, because again, this is non-conventional and non-agricultural. So I bought this spreader. I've got kind of push behind normal domestic lawn type ones. I never got one for the back of the tractor in the end, although it wouldn't be a bad purchase. You can get 12 volt ones that spin on top of the springtime harrows that I've got. But this is actually a really awesome bit of kit. And when we come to sow, we've got a load of beans and some herbal ley and other things to sow. This can do it all. On here you can see all the different grasses and what setting you need on. We're just going for, this is like a mainly fescue, I think. I couldn't tell you what any of those species mean, but either way, it's a grass. So let's say, right, feet spread 13 feet, which is pretty much what we want here, and setting is 4.5. Pretty soft, this soil actually now. Definitely need to roll it. Now, I didn't catch her name, but the lady in the office also said that because of the nature of this grass, it's sown more like a landscaping or domestic grass, that it's a lot more dense to rate than it is with a grazing agricultural paddock type grass. So here is about halfway. we'll work that way, fill up and then do the next bit. It worked pretty well. I did 2 passes, although it probably hits the full width just about in one pass. I've focused it a little bit more on one side and then do a second run down the other side to make sure I catch this bank, and then one light one down the middle. And it seems to be, well, we've used up a whole sack on our third, so we're just about there as far as getting it on evenly. All right, that is 2/3 done, probably just over 2/3 done. So another 100-meter stretch, and I'll give you a little bit more info on this bag spreader, because I've been using it now for 2 years and I'm really impressed with it. It's so much better for this sort of thing than some sort of push along contraption that you might use on a nice flat level front lawn. This, if you're going in and out of trees or just doing little spots in a field or just overseeding something, this is ideal, and it probably gives the same spread as a little 12-volt spreader on the back of a compact tractor. I've not used one of those, but that's the kind of feeling I get. It's pretty decent. You can also see what you're doing a little bit easier. And what I mean by that is there's no chance that you're just going to turn the wrong thing or press the wrong button in the tractor and spit out 100 quid's worth of seed in a big pile. Do you know what I mean? You can kind of see what you're doing a bit more, which I prefer at least. I'm not saying you would necessarily use this for a lawn, but a paddock area or larger areas or uneven, this is a great way to go. I can't remember the model, maybe there's only one, but it's made in America, I think. There are guards to go around the back of the spinner, which I guess stops filling your pockets full of seed, but to be honest, 99% of it goes out the front, so I've never put those on. And like I was saying earlier, the little adjuster window you can set to this catch. What that means is you kind of have it like bagpipes, and when you're ready to spread, you get spinning, you just pull this lever here and hook it behind your preset distance, preset value, I guess. That opens the window to the right, so you don't actually need to hold anything permanently. You're spinning away, and then if you want to stop, you just flick it up and the spring takes it back to 0 and closes it off. So pretty simple, but pretty clever at the same time. And then you might have seen on the time lapse, but what I tend to do is then just open the bag up on the way back, and if there's any bits that I can't get with the spreader in under something, under a tree or on this steep little bit of bank here, I just kind of do that by hand. Now I get a sneaky feeling that I used the complete wrong grass up on the lawn areas I've created up there. I just used some paddock stuff, paddock and gateway, and it grew crazy quick, but it's quite thin, and I just feel like maybe I should have used this stuff. So I'm hoping, I think I'm gonna have about a quarter of a bag of this left. And I don't think we're being too stingy on here, so I'm gonna just overseed that area because there's a lot of bare grass and I probably didn't seed enough, used the wrong type of grass. So what we've had is loads of mallow. I don't know if that's just specific to here, but we've got loads of it and it just grows in and the grass can't keep up with it. Whereas if the grass establishes, then the weeds really shouldn't take hold. That's kind of why I'm happy to go the extra mile and get the right grass and the right amount on here. Question is, have I got a roller? The answer to that is no, definitely not a roller that you do this sort of work with. However, our topper flail has a roller on the back of it, and it weighs a few hundred kilo, and I'm just wondering whether that might work. Well, it's another time warp, this video, and I started that project back in August, kind of grading out the track and then getting it seeded first week of September. We're now into October, so it's time for an update. Right, so I've got to come down to check on the sheep anyway. You can see where they've been, where they're on now. They probably need to be moved along, but we're still lacking some fencing. But take a look at this. It really didn't take long. Obviously the first week, like when you sow a lawn, the first week or two you're like, oh, it's all died, it's not going to work. And then almost overnight you start seeing green. And now, well, now it looks great. So there's obviously some weed seeds and stuff that have blown in, but that's to be expected. The grass has got a pretty good cover. It's a little bit less so here, but I don't know if that's actually more to do with the shade. And of course, we've still got a massive population of rabbits here, which come in and out, and that's why there's holes and scrapes around. But we'll deal with that another day while I'm slowly working my way through the rabbits, but I haven't got enough time to be sat out here every evening. Anyway, first thing to mention is the bank, you know, the steep bank where we had to kind of build up the levels. That took a lot longer to establish. So it's interesting that grass seed takes on a level surface far quicker than it does on a slope. And that's probably because I couldn't get the roller on the slope. But anyway, it seems to have caught up now. I can even see rabbits up there. Not even afraid of the dog up there in the distance. Anyway, let's get back to the track. It's still soft underfoot. So the weather has softened it up a bit because it's been a little bit wet, but that roller was just simply not heavy enough. It was enough to bed the seed in so the seed would take, but unfortunately it hasn't given us a really firm surface. But fortunately I've now got myself a roller. I've got two, and I think this grass is now taken enough that we can probably roll over the top of it just to help consolidate all the kind of bumps and lumps. And give it another week or two to firm up before I even start driving on it. Obviously, I'm going to have to drive on it with the tractor and the roller, but apart from that, I just want to get it as long as possible before we start using it as a thoroughfare. So here's the bank. It has taken now. This is what it was like for a long time, but as you can see, it's greening up. The new fence line is going to need to be here on untouched ground. No, Maggie! Maggie! Don't you start digging. Get off. 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 Here. Here. Gordon Bennett. It's not the rabbits, it's the dog. Anyway, we'll put the fence in here, and then we know that we're driving the posts down into untouched ground. I think that makes sense. Oh, look at it. Can't blame the rabbits for that one. The reason I did this is because the field sloped up into the bank of the the hedge. So in the winter, where we use this as a track to get down to the far field and feed the sheep, the truck or tractor was always sliding away from the hedge, rutting it up, making a mess. This is drier ground. As soon as I revert to using the flat ground at the bottom, while it's flat, it's also wet, because that is the flood meadows. They just hold the moisture more, and it just gets even more messy. I don't really want to be driving through grazable land. We're not going to drive right by the side here, and in actual fact, where the tyres are going to be, it's probably not that much higher than it was. It's just a little bit lower, so it should be fairly firm. The bank, therefore, will remain unfenced, and that will green up naturally. The hedge can still be trimmed, but the fence that protects the hedge from grazing will be here. So we'll end up with this buffer / track on the right hand side. Now you might ask, why didn't we lay this to something more durable like gravel or hardcore or whatever? Planning is the answer to that. Unfortunately, for us to actually create any form of track through here, while we have got prior approval that we can put through, our council, if you follow the other channel, you'll know the hoops we've had to jump through for planning permission for that barn conversion. Our council actually seem to want engineering diagrams and build-ups and cross-sections of the track for the engineering side of it, and it just seems, you know, it's all well and good saying you need to give a 28-day prior notice to put a track in along the side of a field, and a lot of the time that is just simply mapping it out on a map, saying what you're going to do and why it needs to be done, and that's enough. But having looked in some of the local applications, the amount of information they've required, I don't want to start getting into that. So I figured a few years of a nice grass track that's solid is fine. We're only going to be using it now and then, maybe a bit more in the winter. I think it should be okay. That's why I went for the hard wearing grass. In the future, now we've got this track route was always here, but now we've got a more permanent, visible track area. In the future, if we want to revert, or sorry, not revert, but if we want to turn this to a gravel or hard track, then it's quite obvious. We're just literally changing the surface type. There's no real engineering works that are needed anyway. Hopefully it'll be a more straightforward thing. I just can't be dealing with more planning now. I'm burnt out for planning, and we've still got another application to go up there anyway. So there we go. There's the track. Finished the video showing you the new rollers, because I think that's going to be next week's job. It's amazing. It's warm enough that still seedlings are taking and weeds are coming up. It is a warm October, but there we go. Every year's a different year. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll try and find a link for that cedar, because I'm just about to use it today to get some herbal laydown as well. So if you want to find one of those, then you can follow that link. So here are the new additions. A bit late now because we finished with that seeding, but there'll always be areas that we're either repatching or reseeding or overseeding. So there's this flat roll here, which is more ideal for what we need for pasture and seeding, but it's just a fraction narrower than the wheelbase of the tractor, which is a pain. But I figured I could probably offset it on the drawbar so it at least rolls out with a bias to one side, so the tires get rolled out. So anyway, I'm going to go down the track with that in about a week, I think, once that grass is really taken and I know I'm not going to damage it. And then at the same time, there was this Cambridge roll, which is probably 7 feet wide. Less useful for grassland, but good to have. And I'm going to restore both of these up. I know they don't really need it, but give them a bit of loving. I've pressure washed them, scrubbed them back. I'm just going to wire wheel them and get a bit of paint on the framework. But there we go. Then the new additions will be more set up for next year. Say goodbye, girls. Thanks for watching. See you next time.